Hey everyone, I'm Ermysenigma, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is Sai Lotus. Can you feel the halo of silence and peace around Sai Lotus? Well, Sai Lotus is a quiet monster and so he wants his surroundings to be quiet too. If mind control is required in order to achieve quietness, then bring it on. And so allow me to introduce Sai Lotus, who is one of the most incredible monsters we've ever seen. Not only is he an incredible nature monster, overall he's just an incredible monster. Here he is as an adult, teenager, as a baby, and I'm sure there's probably mixed feelings about whether or not you like the design, but I'm letting you guys know right off the bat, his skills are incredible. And you can probably hear it in my voice, but I'm just so extremely excited to talk about this monster. And so, as of the time recording this video, there's a total of 25 nature legendary monsters, so I'm comparing Sai Lotus with all of those monsters. So starting things off with power, he has a power of 3,432, which places him in 9th place along with Plymouth. And even though he is in 9th place, the power stat itself isn't that bad. Anything over 3,400 is pretty darn good. As for his life of 32,874, this is actually the highest life for nature monsters. So yes, he is quite tanky. And then we have his speed. His speed is 3,399, which places him in 11th place, tied with monsters like All-Star the Brave and Plymouth. And so the speed stat is probably the only thing wrong with this monster. Other than that, he is phenomenal. Tankiest life, a pretty good power, and his trait is hardened. All status effects have a 20% less accuracy against it. And with the current stage of the game where we have the book wars where you never know who you're gonna face, maybe you'll face a monster that can freeze you, possess you, stun you, mega stun you, hack you, corrupt you. There's just so many effects in the game that having a single immunity like immunity to freeze, immunity to possession, immunity to stun, those really don't help you out much anymore. So in my opinion, having traits like harden, tough, bulwark, that's really where it's at. So it's really great that this monster has hardened. And so with that said, let's move on to the skills. His ultimate attack is called Nature is Unfair, removes 100% of stamina from all targets, adds 100% of stamina to all allies. Wow, talk about an ultimate skill. It doesn't deal any damage whatsoever, but you're stamina draining all of the enemy monsters' stamina, so they're going to have no way to attack you other than if they get their ultimate, which there is a 5% chance to trigger, but at the same time, you're giving all of your monsters stamina. And so you don't even need to bother with recharging with your monsters if they had no stamina or not enough stamina to use an attack. The enemy monsters can attack you and now you'll be free to attack them. What a truly incredible ultimate attack. Nature is definitely unfair. In skills group 1 there's really nothing worth mentioning, but for some reason I just feel like pointing out that he has a skill called Spore Infection, which deals 30 damage, it's AoE, it's special based, and it has no cooldown, so you can spam the skill over and over again. Again, nothing really too special, but I just felt like I needed to point it out. And with that out of the way, let's move on to skills group 2. Starting things off with Last Breath. Adds 30% of stamina to ally, gains 1 extra turn, requires cooldown. And so this skill costs 28 stamina with a 4-turn cooldown. And this skill is just so darn amazing, I don't even know where to begin. The usability of Last Breath is incredible. Just to give you guys a scenario, your trait is hardened, so you're still prone to being possessed, and you're really not that fast, so in the nature category, it's still possible for you to get possessed. And if you're taking on magic monsters, once again, it's still possible for you to get possessed. Well, let's say you do get possessed. That doesn't matter because you can use Last Breath, give 30% energy to one of the enemy monsters, doesn't matter who it is, you get an extra turn, which means you'll be free to attack them. This will also work against a hackster if he manages to hack you, or against a glitch if he manages to land corruption on you. So as far as for the nature category, this would really work the best against an enemy Lamu. So even if Lamu is faster than you, if it tries to possess Sai Lotus, you're fine. But in terms of the usability and synergy with other skills this monster has, I'll have to come back to Last Breath. Next up is Natural Control. Deals moderate nature damage, may possess target, requires cooldown. This skill deals 45 nature damage, costs 25 stamina, has a 2-turn cooldown, and it's just a possession skill. And so single possession is amazing, it has a 95% accuracy. Now in the nature category, monsters like Petroloa, Kiridar, and Alcys's pet, they are immune to possession, so you have to watch out if you're fighting against them. Oh, and actually one of the newest monsters, Yiltra, has the Abomination trait, which is also immune to possession, so you do have to watch out for those monsters, but other than that, you're free to pretty much possess any nature monster you want. Next up is for the team, adds 100% of stamina to ally, removes 100% of stamina from itself, requires cooldown. So this skill targets a single ally, it costs 28 stamina, has a 1-turn cooldown, and so essentially whatever monster you target, they get all of their stamina back, but your own monster, Sai Lotus, he loses all of his stamina. And while there's certainly some situations this can come in handy, say for example your attacker just got stamina drained and you need him to attack the enemy monster, or your deny monster, he's out of stamina and you need to deny the next turn to win, maybe those are situations where it would come in handy, but overall I can't really recommend this skill because even those situations I mentioned, they'd probably be extremely rare and wouldn't come up too often, and overall he has better skills than skills group 3. And so from skills group 2, definitely run Last Breath and Natural Control. And so on to skills group 3 we go. Nature Owner. Deals moderate nature damage and may possess all targets. An AoE possession, 26 stamina cost, 2-turn cooldown. That's pretty low stamina cost and a cooldown for an AoE possession on a nature monster. And so we have yet another nature denier, a true nature denier. Previous to Sai Lotus, the other true nature denial was El Dino Volador, who has an AoE stun, But if we compare the two, AoE stun versus AoE possession, I would have to say AoE possession is way better because the enemy monsters are basically on your team and they're using their own stamina to attack their teammates, so that's what you really want. Then again, you could counter argue by saying only 2 nature monsters are actually immune to stun, Alzino and Sarah, whereas if you recall I mentioned earlier, there's about 5 nature monsters that are immune to possession. So that's something worth considering. But going back to Sai Lotus, AoE possession, I just can't get over how crazy good that is, and this makes sense why this monster is rather slow. If this monster would have been a little faster, had the base speed of 3465, or matched that of Sarah and Lao Mu 3476, this monster would have instantly gone down as the best nature monster. But I think with a low base speed, now there's room for arguments. And so anyways, it goes without saying, this is the must-have skill. And so if you haven't skilled this monster, you must have this on your skill set. And anyway, next up is Salvia Thirst. Deals very heavy special damage, removes 100% of stamina from target, adds 100% of stamina to itself, requires cooldown. What the heck is this skill? It's another incredible skill. 60 damage, special based, that is incredible. This monster may not be an attacker, but he can definitely deal some damage. And this skill costs 34 stamina, not that it matters because you get all of your stamina back. Heck, this could have been 100 stamina cost and you still get all of your stamina back. Now of course it's nice that it's slow because if you start the game off with Nature Owner and use some other skills, you aren't going to have a lot of stamina, but I'm just saying like 34 stamina cost and you get all of your stamina back, that makes no sense. At the same time that you're doing 60 special base damage and draining the enemy monster of their stamina, this skill is insane to me too. And to make this skill even more devastating, it only has a 1-turn cooldown. What the heck are they thinking with this monster? AoE possession, a 1-turn cooldown skill that drains the enemy stamina and gives you all of your stamina back, a single possession skill, and a skill that gives you an extra turn? Wow, what the heck, this monster is so darn incredible. Skills wise, I think if we compare him to all the other nature monsters, I think we could all agree that he's just uncontested. In my opinion, Sai Lotus' skills are by far the best of any nature monster. And possibly not even just in the nature monsters, possibly of all the monsters. He's definitely in the top 10 or top 5 if we were just comparing skills. And so obviously, you have to run this skill. Let me just talk about the final skill, Rise of the Plants. Adds 30% of stamina to all allies, requires cooldown. What an anticlimactic way to end. I talked about Nature Owner, AoE possession, a really powerful skill, Salvia Thirst, and then just Rise of the Plants, 30% stamina to all of your allies. So it costs 26 stamina, 3-turn cooldown, and all of your teammates get stamina. Okay, no big deal. So the skill set is going to be Salvia Thirst, Nature Owner, Last Breath, and Natural Control. And those 4 skills are really the best of the best. It's really hard to argue against choosing some other skill. If anything, the only argument I can see would be instead of running Natural Control to run for the team, because it is a situational skill that can come in handy, especially if you find yourself going up against monsters that can possess you. Nature Owner is going to be useless and Natural Control is going to be useless. And so in those situations, Salvia Thirst is going to be your only way of immobilizing, and so for the team can possibly come in handy. But like I said, those situations are very rare, and of course you could always just not put yourself in a situation where you're taking on monsters that are immune to possession. And so once again, Natural Control, Last Breath, Nature Owner, Salvia Thirst, that's in my opinion the best skill set. And now I want to go back and talk about Last Breath and the synergy it has specifically with Salvia Thirst. And so because Salvia Thirst only has a 1-turn cooldown, the amount of things you can do with this monster are quite amazing. Say for example you find yourself in a situation where you can use Sai Lotus and Demise together. So let's just say a nature war and a female war. And let's say for defense the enemy has a General Thetis. Well, Demise is naturally faster than General Thetis, and what you don't want is for the enemy General Thetis to do Stamina Devours. And so because your Demise is faster than General Thetis, you can do Strength from Beyond on your Sai Lotus. And so Sai Lotus will have double damage, and he'll be able to use Salvia Thirst against the enemy General Thetis and immobilize General Thetis from doing Stamina Devours. And so then the enemy General Thetis is going to have to recharge, and then what do? You can do Last Breath to give your Demise your stamina back, to give yourself an extra turn, and you can do Salvia Thirst yet again. And so you're going to be able to drain the stamina of another enemy monster, so you mobilize 2 monsters successfully while having your stamina full at 100%, and Demise is also going to have your stamina at 100%. So that's just really awesome. I just can't believe Salvia Thirst is a 1-turn cooldown and then Last Breath gives you an extra turn. And honestly, if you wanted to, I'm not recommending this, let me just make that clear, not recommending, but if you just wanted to mess around, have some fun, I did mention that although his power isn't that great, it's still pretty powerful. And so for whatever reason, if you wanted to give this monster 2 strength and then a speed rune, you could utilize that combo, and instead of just immobilizing, you could potentially kill. So once again with the Demise combo, you have double damage, this is 60 special base damage, so you're attacking a monster, if you're not killing the monster, you're draining their stamina, so they're either going to die, or they lose all of their stamina, and again, same combo, Last Breath, Salvia Thirst on the next monster, if he doesn't die, he loses his stamina, and so it's just really great synergy. But with that being said, the runes for this monster should without a doubt be all speed runes. Give him your best speed runes because you're definitely going to want him to go before the enemy nature monsters that inherently have a faster base speed than you. And not only is this monster really good on offense, he's also a really good monster to put on defense for your nature wars. Because let's take a look at the skills one more time. Salvia Thirst, that'll immobilize one of the enemy monsters. Nature Owner, that'll AoE possess, so potentially immobilize everyone. Natural Control, that'll immobilize an enemy monster. And as for Last Breath, well, it doesn't really do anything except give you an extra turn, which increases the likelihood of doing one of these attacks, so no matter what, you can't go wrong. This monster has an AI-proof skill set, and it's really rare to see when a monster actually has that. And then of course there is that possibility that the monster maybe has Sai Lotus against your Sai Lotus, he does AoE possession, you get possessed, and then the AI is smart enough to do Last Breath, get rid of that possession, and then just do Nature Owner to possess the enemy team. So really great monster on offense, really great on defense, possibly one of the best nature monsters. The only argument to him being the best nature monster once again goes to the speed. 3399, that is the only thing stopping him. He has an incredible trait, he's the tankiest nature monster, his power is also pretty good, not that you want to treat him as an attacker. If you wanted to you could, but you really shouldn't. He also has a pretty good power, not that it matters too much because once again, he should be a deny monster. I mentioned that little thing he can do with demise, but that's very rare, very situational, and that's only if you want to have fun. Overall, what matters are his amazing skills. And so now this brings forward the question of who is the best nature monster. You have Sarah, who's immune to stun and can single stun, so she can only single deny. We also have Lamu, who's incredibly fast, same as Sarah, she can possess and she has harden, so she's really good. And then there's always the argument that she's breedable, so it's easy enough to rank her up. And recently we got El Dino Volador, who has a base speed of 3.421, so faster than Sai Lotus, and he has an AoE stun. And so he was our ever first true nature denier. But now we have Sai Lotus, who is slower than all of them, but he has an AoE possession, single possession, stamina drain skill, and an extra turn skill set, so who's the best nature monster now? Oh my gosh, it's so hard to decide, but if you take the moment to think to the magic category, we have Egg Eater, who is by no means one of the fastest magic monsters, yet many people hail him as one of the best. Good on offense, good on defense, AoE burn and blind, AoE possession. Lots of people really love Egg Eater even though he's not that fast. And so maybe it's going to be a similar thing with Sai Lotus. Maybe, maybe not. Now it's time for you guys to decide. Obviously you can tell I really love this monster. I think this is a must-have monster. If you're playing Monster Legends, do whatever it takes to get this monster. But that's just my opinion. Now I want to hear from all of you, and I want to see a lot of comments on this video. How do you think this monster compares to monsters like Sarah, Lamu, Yiltre, El Dino Volador, and more importantly, who do you think is the best nature denier now? Do you think it's one of them, or do you think this monster is going to take their spot? Please let me know, and also if you want to, go ahead and explain yourself. Don't just put a monster's name. Tell me why that monster is above everyone else. And I just want to mention that I am recording this before this monster is officially released. There is a possibility that something may change. I really hope nothing changes. The only thing I'd be okay with would be an increase to his speed, so then we can undisputedly say he's the best. But as for right now, I'm just hoping that nothing changes in terms of the skills. I hope they don't increase the cooldown of a skill or increase the stamina cost or anything like that. I just hope he stays the way he is in terms of skills and trait. As for the speed, once again, I'd be okay with a buff, but I am recording this before his actual release, so I don't know if they may change something once he's actually released. And so with that being said, that is going to conclude this video, this monster analysis on Sai Lotus, one of the most incredible nature monsters, one of the best skill sets in my opinion. And so be sure to give me your thoughts in the comments below. Again, I want to see a lot of comments, a lot of discussion on this monster. I imagine there's going to be some comparison series comparing him with those monsters I mentioned previously, so look forward to that. And with that last little bit said, remember to dream big and pursue your passions.